Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to this week's edition of Monday Motivation. So apologies for the dodgy lighting. I'm not in my usual space or place, so it's a little bit yellow today. Let's see what I can do about that. See if I can... Will it stay? Let's have a look and see. Will it stay? Will it stay? Will it stay? Okay, so welcome to this edition or episode of Monday Motivation. Now, how did these even come about? Well, Monday Motivation started out because Mondays, in my opinion, got a bit of a bad rap. I remember when I worked in financial services back in 2000 and, let me think, going back to 2003 actually. By 2008, I realised that most people dreaded Monday. It was like a day to be feared or a day to be kind of just not looked forward to. And what a way to start your week. In my eyes, I found that really demotivating. Hey, morning Ivona, thanks for hopping on and saying hi. I know that everything's working. So, Ivona, welcome. Yes, I see you on there. Excellent. So, here's the thing. Mondays get a bad rap. For a lot of people, they dread Monday morning, or they either don't want to do the thing that they're doing for their week. And I realised really quickly that you could set up yourself for your week, set up yourself for success if you like. So I back then used to just send a little motivational quote or saying every Monday morning just to pep people up. And before long, people used to, thank you for the love heart, before long people used to let me know that it really got them going for their Monday, really got them going for their day. So if you know, hey Namisha, morning my lovely. So before long people started to tell me how it really made a difference to their Monday. So when I started my business in 2010, I wanted to bring Monday motivations to life. So I continued the tradition until last June 2016, I decided that I wanted to bring it up to modern day life. I wanted to do something that could be interactive, something that could that could actually make a bit of a difference. So Monday Motivations were born. So we're now on episode 68, I think, from count. So we've been going for well over a year and a quarter. Thank you to many of you who send me messages, send me emails, comment below on the post, share these with your friends. I thank you so much, because although this page is about visibility and being seen so that you can really make your difference in the world, it's not just about business in my book. Quite often, and I know that I for one can't compartmentalise work, personal life, and sometimes there's a bit of a meld that happens together. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for joining. Let me know where in the world you're watching from, although I do know that for my US friends it's probably quite late at night. So let me know where you're watching from. So thank you for saying good morning to me, and thank you for saying good morning to each other. And this week I wanted to talk about ordinary to extraordinary. So oh, okay, Ivona. No worries, Ivona. No worries at all. So I wanted to talk to you about being ordinary to extraordinary. And, in my eyes, part of what I do in my work as a visibility specialist is I recognise the extraordinary in all of us. So, oh my gosh, Dale's on. Dale's saying hi from Spain. She's off for a doggy walk. Enjoy those doggies, enjoy that walk, and enjoy that gorgeous countryside. Is it still dark over there? It's just starting to get light here, but it's not quite light yet. So I've had this, I've always had this fascination with people who are doing extraordinary things in the world. And it's interesting because since I started the business in 2010, it's almost like it puts you on your own personal development path on steroids. I was always interested in people and what made them brilliant and what made them outstanding. And walking this path definitely does that for you. And one of the things that I find that a lot of business owners, entrepreneurial people tend to focus more on is the money. Whereas when I go to my corporate clients and speak to my sales managers or coach my execs and people like that, they just want to be effective. They want to make sure that they're leading the company. They want to be effective. But over the years, I've noticed this has started to meld from one to another. And I'm always fascinated by people that are doing extraordinary things in the world. Some of you might say people that are doing well, and there's a couple of things that I've noticed, and there might be too many for this episode of Monday Motivation. So if that's the case, to honour your time and make sure that we're not on here for hours and hours and hours, what I'd love to do is to share some of the insights now, and then if there are more, then I'll put them on for next week's episode, which might be pre-recorded because I will be on a plane somewhere up in the sky with no internet connection. So if that's the case, I'll continue that next week. So Dale says it's starting to get light in Spain, pretty much the same as here, eh? So what are these things that I've observed extraordinary people doing over ordinary people? Now, in my eyes, I just want to caveat this by saying that even the most ordinary people are destined for extraordinary things. So if you know somebody that's ordinary, who you know is also destined for extraordinary things, please share this video with them. This is a sort of video that whether you're a business owner or not, you could actually share on your timeline, because I know that so many people need a bit of a pep for Monday morning. So if you feel inclined to do so, please share it. Hey, Alan's joined the party. So we've got Alan, we've got Dale, we've got Namisha, we've got Ivona, all saying hi. So welcome. So what are some of the things that I see ordinary people doing versus extraordinary people doing? So given that we all have the ability to be brilliant, all have the ability to just like do the things in the world that we want to do, we can choose to take a mediocre path, which is one that fulfills us and I guess, you know, we're okay with, or we can choose to do extraordinary things. And the first thing that I have observed is that people doing extraordinary things recognise there's like a burning fire, a burning desire within themselves. They recognise that they want to bring that into the world, and they get really curious about how they can do that. There's so many people that, as Wayne Dyer used to say, they die with their music still in them. They're things that they wanted to do, things they wanted to achieve. And they always said to themselves, one day, someday, maybe, I wish, perhaps, and all that kind of stuff. Or I'm trying is the other dirty little critter that gets under the fingernails of our skin and our psyche. Yet people that are doing the most extraordinary things in the world will have the thought of, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm coming from, and even if they're not 100% sure whether, you know, there's a concrete and solid plan, they just go for it anyway. They start to put the wheels in motion and they go one step at a time. So it's a bit like when you climb up a flight of stairs. Rather than looking all the way up to the top and thinking that you have to jump from the first step all the way to the 15th step, they just say, you know what, let me just take one more step towards this, another and another. They don't beat themselves up about it, they don't get overwhelmed about it, they just go for the next step, and they achieve the next step and then go for the one after that and the one after that. And usually, even though it's going upwards, it's usually building some sort of momentum. So the first thing they do is they recognise that desire. They don't push it down, they don't banish it away, they don't say, who am I? They just take an action on it. And the second thing that I've noticed, and I speak about this a lot, but in order to take that action means that you have to make a decision. And there really are three decisions: to do nothing, to do something, or to choose to get stuck in the mire of it all. So you can either do nothing, do something, or get stuck in the mire of it all and, oh, I don't know what to do for the best. Now, the most extraordinary people that I see out in the world make the decision that they're going to do something about it, even when they don't know. And it's what they do from there that takes it forward. Do they go and ask an expert? Do they go and surround themselves with other people that they know will bolster them up? Do they go and learn the very specific thing they need to do? You know, I think of like a couple of really successful people that I know currently who are on to a big mission to do really, really big things. And one of them that I know, there's a specific area in their life that a lot of people are doing. A lot of people, you could Google it, I guess, and piece together the information, maybe put a few YouTube videos together and piece it all together. But they recognise that in order to be extraordinary, will take a long time. So what they've done is they've purposely sought out who they need, who do they know who can absolutely nail this thing. So who do they know that does it, who do they know that nails it, and they've gone and they've spoken to that person, and already they've got a plan in place to get it done. Now, contrary to popular belief, just because you're super successful at something, and just because you're extraordinary at something or brilliant at something, doesn't mean that you think about it 1 minute and then you're doing it like the next day or that following week, because that's what actually puts you into overwhelm. People that are extraordinary absolutely know 100% what they're great at. They know when they're going to start it. You know, they've taken the decision, the internal decision. They know why. They know what they want to get out there, and then they plot their marks in the sand. So you don't find them saying, "I want to have it done by tomorrow," when they know that it means contacting people, setting things up, for example. So that's the other observation that I've noticed. The third observation that I've noticed, that they'll go and get it done, and they'll go and get the specific strand they need from that specific person. They won't mess around and try and cobble it all together. And something else that I've noticed, and this is quite a provocative one, I would say, but something that I have noticed. I see a lot of brilliant people in the work that I do, and I see them all sorts of different stages, from the concept or the idea or the thinking about this is something that I really want to do, to people that are out there doing it and they want to do more of it. So that and anywhere in between. And one of the things that I see people do is, and especially in the business arena, so whether it's an organisation, like a corporate organisation that I could go into, or whether it's an individual that I speak to, and it fascinates me, because some people choose to do this and some people choose not to. Some organisations choose to do this and some choose not to. And that is, if it's something that matters and something they want to do well, something they want to do properly, and for organisations and businesses specifically, something they know is actually going to help them to bring and grow their business. A up, says Ian. A up, Ian, good morning to you. When people who are either business owner, entrepreneurial, or somebody in a corporate setting, they want to do something that grows their business, and by growing their business it will ultimately result in more income, and they choose not to pay for it, or they choose to scrimp on it. Now, a really good example of this, which is quite generic and something that I think everybody can relate to, are redundancies. Now, redundancies are a necessary part of life. Unfortunate, but very necessary. A bit like the autumn time, where you might be out in the garden starting to prune things back, ready for bigger growth on the other side. Now, the most successful organisations, they'll go in and they'll prune, ready for growth, and then they'll have a forward-thinking plan. How will that growth happen? And they'll be very strategic. They'll have a plan, and they'll go out and they'll spend physical time and physical money on growing that element of what they need to do next. A lot of entrepreneurs that I speak to will come to me and say they need help with specific things, and depending on whether I am the person to help, because I do believe in sort of playing to your zone of genius, if I'm the best person to help and they can, you know, articulate what it is they need and we can get to a result, then I'll help them. And if not, I'll normally refer them on to somebody else who might be able to help. So we've got a few of you on. We've got Faye on, we've got Dale on, so good morning, Faye. We've got Ian on, we've got Alan on, we had Namisha on, I don't know if she's still on, and we've got Ivana on, so thank you for joining. So here's the thing that I see, a lot of business owners will say, for example, I want to expand my business. So there are two things that happen from the extraordinary or the ordinary. The ordinary people will say, you know, I want to go out and do this thing. Let's say they'll say, I want to go out and be able to reach a bigger audience. And they'll say, I don't like all this online stuff, which is fine. You know, we all have our choices in the way we get ourselves out there. So what they'll do is they'll decide they're going to go networking, they're going to go out and speak. And what they will do is they'll go out, and the ordinary people will still do something to help themselves. So they'll go out and they'll go to maybe speaker classes or public training speaking. And sometimes they'll be doing it on YouTube, so just having a look at videos, having a look how somebody else does it. Sometimes they'll be like pressing their nose up against the window, looking through the glass and going, oh, well, that person does it in that way, so if they do this once a week, then I'm going to do this once a week. But the problem with that is you never know what the underpinning is. A bit like the foundations of a house, you never know the roots of why somebody is doing something. there's normally a strategic purpose in what somebody is doing. And I know that those people that are extraordinary, they have a plan, and the plan doesn't need to be on a spreadsheet, just, you know, contrary to popular belief. They have a plan, they know where they are now, they know what the next step is, and they know what the step is in the distance. And when you're pressed, you know, when you're pressing your nose up against the window, you can't possibly see that. You think you can guess it, you think you can emulate what somebody is doing, but you can't see the reasons why. You don't always know their reason why, you don't always know what their next step is, you don't always know what their long-term vision or goal is. So here's the thing, you know, to be extraordinary, go to the person and find out whether it's something that they can do, whether it's something that they do, and, you know, speak to them and pay them for their services. Even, you know, there's a big myth that, oh, well, I'm self-employed, and if I have a lot of corporate clients and they'll pay me. You know, I remember one particular corporate client that, going back a few years, is no longer a corporate client, that owed me over £14,000. At one stage, I didn't think I was going to get that back, but I did, thankfully. And although it was many years ago, it taught me how to show up in that space, and also what to look for in that space. So, you know, there are times when I'm approached by big companies. There are times that I'm approached by big organisations, you know, and as recently as 2016, I was approached by a really great organisation who basically said to me, we love what you do, we really need what you do to not only enhance the visibility within our organisation, but enhance our own visibility so that people come and join us. And what would be really great is if, like, you know, if you can do some work with us, we'll put you out to our audience. Sorry? I don't think that's going to work for me. So, you know, don't be fooled by thinking, oh, well, because they're you know, a corporate organisation, you can get money from corporates and not from other people, because that, in fact, is a belief that we hold dear, a belief that we think serves us, which actually doesn't. And it's one of the big myths that I hear in the entrepreneurial and business space. So people that are successful will always look for what they want, and people that are extraordinary, if I can even say the word, will go and look for how they can get something done in the shortest amount of time by somebody who is doing it. So, you know, there's no secret that I am about to release details for something called Presentations That Sell. I've only got a few hours to do it before I head off to America for just over a week, or for just under a week. So Presentations That Sell comes from my years of experience, not only presenting, and I present live, I present online. I also have presented, you know, in a corporate space. I worked in financial services for many years. I was a senior manager there, so I had to present to the board. I had to present ideas and concepts, and I had to sell them into the idea of the concept or the idea that I was pitching, if you like. So Presentations That Sell isn't just about selling your services, isn't just about selling a physical product, isn't just about selling, you know, selling in terms of transaction of money. You might want to be more influential, you might want to be more persuasive. How do you get people along and on board with your ideas? And actually, if they're not along and on board with your ideas, how do you actually let people know, you know what? This is something for this type of person, and I feel like you'd be more suited to go for that type of thing. How do you do that without making people feel slimy and horrible, you know? So I don't only bring the expertise that I have as a business owner of doing this for myself, you know, from things like BNI and you know, doing the 10-minute presentation or the 60-second pitch. I have quite an expansive range, almost from the inside out. So people will say to me, I want to work with corporates. I'm just going to ask people and see how that goes. Do you know what? Use a bit of time, get knuckled down, you know, spend a few hours with a coach, spend some sessions with a mentor or somebody that's done it or doing it, and ask them for their strategies, ask them how they get it done. But don't be surprised if, like, so for example, I get a lot of people that see these videos, they know what I do, and they'll say, oh Jenny, I'd like to take you out for coffee, or I'd like to take you out for lunch, and it'd be really great to pick your brains. Well, this is my business. For many people that go to work, they get a regular salary, they do their job. So in order for me to be extraordinary, I can't diminish the people that do pay me for my time, that do pay me for my products and services. And, you know, there are certain things like this I do which give, I hope, really great value and really great free tips. But for those people that want to, you know, that are really serious about what they want to do, they want to delve deeper, they want to go from being ordinary and making a difference anyway to extraordinary and making a huge difference and leaving a great legacy on the planet, then they need to show up in that way. And quite a lot of the time, the reason, by the way, people will ask to pick your brains or to go for coffee with you isn't that they don't value your products or your services or your time, is that deep down they don't believe in themselves that they can do it, that they're worth doing it, and, you know, the ability to do it. That's all it is. So for those of you out there who are people helping people, and someone comes to you and says, I really need your help, and can you please help me? And, you know, your heart opens and you think, you know what, I'm going to help them. And I speak to myself as well as any of you that do this. You're a people helping person. When you go and give the thing that you know, that you value, that you've trained for, that you've maybe paid for to learn about yourself, that you've maybe paid for in time and experience, maybe you've lived through something horrendous and come out of the other side and been able to empower people and teach people the same sort of thing. When you go out there as an ordinary person, you'll give away your strawberries. When you go out into the world as an extraordinary person, what you give is your time in exchange for their time and money and their commitment. And if you go out and you say, you know what, oh, I know them, so I'm just going to give them this for nothing, then you make no commitment to yourself, they make no commitment to themselves, and they don't end up getting the results that they want, and it becomes really, really frustrating. So don't fall into that trap, Visibility Vibers. So thank you so much for watching, and again, I'd ask you if there's anything that you heard on here that was, you know, that just sort of touched you or resonated with you. Maybe you saw something differently as a result of this, then I would ask you to share. So what I do want to close on is something else that the most extraordinary people do is they get very, very specific, very, very clear. And Dale says, thank you, Dale. You say, completely agree, we need boundaries. You know what, I sometimes think I was sent to this planet to learn the lesson of boundaries, and I'm starting to see, you know, so for a good few years I've you know, shared with many people, including the lovely Dale, around boundaries and how we put things, you know, how we put things out there and letting people in and letting people out and all of that kind of stuff. But what I'm actually starting to see is after boundary test after boundary test, where I'm successful in some areas and then other times I completely cark it and get my brains completely picked and then get very frustrated. What I've actually realised, and this is an ugly truth, even for myself, is that sometimes it's around boundaries and other times it's about how we value ourselves. And the worst thing about that I found for myself is that when I realise that I'm not valuing myself, I don't realise it to start off with, if that makes sense. So I think it's a boundary piece, and I go, oh, the boundary lesson's coming up again, and then I go in there and then I mess it up royally, and then I realise actually I'm not valuing myself. And I wish there was a school that could teach you how to value yourself, and then that's done and it's all learnt and that's it. But the truth is that very often when you look at why you have allowed someone to come through your boundaries, there's a certain element or a certain aspect that you're not you know, you're not absolutely valuing for yourself. And when you don't value it for yourself, they don't value it for themselves either. So thank you for that, Dale, because that's a really important point that you've brought up there, and one that comes back to me. It's a lesson that slaps me around the face like a wet fish. So the point that I wanted to conclude with today was that to go from being ordinary to extraordinary, I want to finish by telling you a quick story. I used to live in Peterborough, true fact, and there was a sandwich bar called Swivels in Peterborough. So if you live in Peterborough still and Swivels is still there, please let me know. It used to be in the Westgate Arcade. Now Swivels was one of those sandwich bars where you could go in, you could actually order jacket potatoes and drinks and soup. So you had an array of drinks that you could buy, then you had like, you could have bread, brown bread, white bread, sub rolls, ciabatta rolls, brown, white, whole grain. Then you could have jacket potatoes, and then you had this whole array of fillings. You know, from, you could have butter or margarine or nothing, or you could have cheese or coleslaw or meats or pickles. So you would go in and you would have a look at the board and see what kind of breads they had, what kind of potatoes they had, or one type of potato, and then you would decide what filling you were going to have. Now there's a point where you would walk into Swivels. It was its name, Swivels. I wonder if it's still there. I'll have to Google it and find out. And you would walk in there, and you know what it's like when you're really, really hungry. You know, you're on your lunch break or something like that. You're really hungry, and you can get to a point actually of indecision. Now, this is a beautiful metaphor for where we show up as being extraordinary in life. We're hungry for it. We felt our desire. Sometimes it's actually hard to articulate your specific real desire, but you know what it is because you feel it in your stomach. You go through the thing of squashing it down and who am I, and maybe I'm not good enough to do it, and then you accept this feeling and desire in your heart, and then you go for it. And before you go for it, you're like me, like a couple of decades ago, standing in front of the sandwich bar Swivels and having a look and saying, how am I going to do this? Which fillings am I going to have? Now, there are two things that we do. The ordinary people go, I'm going to have this, this and this. I'm quite decisive, I know what I want. And just as the person turns around and starts picking up the fillings to put in the sandwich, I go, no, wait a minute. I just want a sandwich. I think I just want a sandwich. And they say, yeah, I understand you want a sandwich, but what kind of sandwich? I just want a sandwich. That girl over there's got a sandwich, and him over there's got a sandwich. He's got quite a big sandwich, so I want a sandwich like his. And the poor person behind the counter is saying, yeah, but like, what kind of sandwich do you want? So don't be like me at Swivels, being so hungry, like so hungry for it, that I'm going, should I have cheese? Should I have carrot? Should I have a jacket potato? Or what shall I have? Don't be like the person who's being ordinary and being decisive, then indecisive. Decisive, then indecisive. Be that extraordinary person that says, you know what? This is what I want. This is what I want to have. I want the corned beef sandwich with pickle and carrots inside, please, on brown bread, lightly buttered. Please wrap it up because I'm going to take it away, take it back to my desk and eat it. Be really, really specific about what you want. Know what you want. Know exactly what you want now, and then know exactly where you're aiming for. Because when you're crystal clear on what you want now and you're crystal clear on what you're aiming for, it makes the path in between a lot easier. You don't have to stand at where you are now and think, but how specifically am I going to do it? You just need to be crystal clear on where you are now and where you're going to. And the most extraordinary people do that. A bit like I used to do in the sandwich bar and Swivels, although sometimes I was so hungry for it that I could really confuse myself. A few times you end up over-ordering and overstuffing, and that's another thing I see. But I think perhaps there'll be another episode of this Monday motivation, and check back next week at 7 AM UK time. Now, if for some reason, and I think I'm going to be flying at that time, I can't be with you live, I will create a part 2 of this extraordinary piece. But what I want you to do is, I want you to claim your extraordinary space below in the comments below. I'd love you to type like what are you going to do this week that's extraordinary, or why are you extraordinary? I want you to really claim and own who you are. You don't need to go into details. If it's a bit more personal, you want to continue the discussion, then just go up the top there, click to join the Visibility Vibes tribe, answer the 3 questions. They're very short, they'll take you less than a minute. Answer those 3 questions and then come in and join in the conversation. What makes you ordinary? And if anyone is watching this and you live in Peterborough and the Westgate Arcade is still there, let me know where the Swivel Sandwich Bar and Hot Potato Bar's there. I'd love to know. Lots of love to you. Thank you for joining me. Bye for now.